1010XL is presented by Farah and Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville. He's Hacker.
Talk about a fried egg. I lasted about 5 minutes out there. I said, to heck with this. I'll do this in the morning. And I don't have any inside information. The lady that did it, she got in there. She made it happen.
And he doesn't shy away from opinion.
And I do enjoy drinking cold beer at ballparks. So if that makes me a baseball fan, then I'm a diehard baseball fan.
It's Hacker After Dark on 1010XL.
And a very good Tuesday evening to you, Jacksonville. It is Hacker After Dark, 1010XL, 92.5 FM, in for Rick Ballou until 8 o'clock tonight. Glad you are spending part of your Tuesday evening with us. We have a ton to get into. We're going to do some NFL with you, some Jaguar, obviously, some NBA talk, a little bit of around the league as well. As I mentioned with Frank and Hayes, if you count a vacation or two that I have this summer, I have 8 weeks between now that I'm on the air and the start of Jaguar training camp and the end of July. So we're going to go division by division as we've done every summer the last couple of years. We start it tonight and the remainder of this week in the AFC East. We will make stops in New England, in New York, in Miami. Tonight we'll start with the Buffalo Bills. My buddy Sal Capaccio, WGR Radio in Buffalo and the Bills Radio Network, as we'll look back on the Buffalo Bills offseason that was. Again, later in the week, we will make stops with the Patriots, the Dolphins, and the Jets, as we will do the AFC East this week. Mike DeRocco, ESPN.com, joins me in less than 15 minutes to look back on Jaguar rookie minicamp, talk a little bit of Travis Hunter, look ahead to OTAs that begin next week. And we will talk a little NBA. Trevor Lane of the NBA Front Office Show. In case you did miss it, within the last 30 minutes, it was announced it is a ruptured Achilles for Jason Tatum of the Boston Celtics. His season is obviously over. And quite frankly, he might be done for the entirety of next season as well. Usually a ruptured Achilles, 8 to 12 months normally. And we're already in the month of May, so don't have to be the smartest guy to figure out he's going to miss a majority of next season, if not the entirety of next season. Just sucks, man. One of the best, if not the best, young stars in the NBA suffers that injury last night. Completely overshadowed the fact that the Knicks have taken a 3-1 lead in that series. New York has played terrific basketball, but unfortunately, Jason Tatum, it's official, a ruptured Achilles, and his season and foreseeable future is done in the NBA. I want to talk about that, but I also want to focus on the draft lottery, and I want to bring it full circle to something that I think everybody listening to me right now can relate to. With that as a backdrop, every night here on Hacker After Dark, we do kick it off with a big deal of the night, and Dylan Denmark. Let's do that right now.
Time now for the big deal of the night.
What's the big deal?
What is the big deal?
No big deal.
It is a big deal.
On Hacker After Dark.
So the draft lottery was last night. I'm sure most of you saw it, or if not, you've heard about the situation. The Dallas Mavericks, who traded Luka Doncic, ridiculously traded Luka Doncic to the Los Angeles Lakers, 2 months later now, had a 1.8% chance of winning the draft lottery last night, and they win the draft lottery to give them the option to draft Cooper Flagg next month in the NBA draft. And there's a lot of people that cover the NBA, people that I respect from websites that have covered the league for a long, long time, that are throwing the word rigged out there. Now, last night was a terrible look for the NBA. It probably wasn't rigged necessarily. I do agree with Hayes Carline, because you would have arrests and things along those lines if that ever came to fruition. But it was a terrible look because it looks like there were shenanigans for that to play out the way it did. I will say this, for LeBron to be retiring in the next year or so, the NBA knows they need a star in Los Angeles. Dallas inexplicably trades Luka Doncic to Los Angeles, and then 2 months later gets Cooper Flagg in the draft lottery that they had a less than 2% chance of winning. That's interesting, right? I mean, that's one of those where you're like, that's okay. I don't know about rigged. I'd like to think it's not rigged, but that's interesting. Now let me bring it full circle to something we all can relate to, even if you're not necessarily an NBA fan. We all love sports. That's why I'm sitting here talking into this microphone that I'm privileged to do every night to you. That's probably why you're listening to me and listen to this radio station. You are a sports fan. I am a sports fan. Denmark is a sports fan. We are all sports fans. It's what we do. It's what we love. It's all we know. And we like to think that our sports are on the up and up. Look, when you're watching the WWE or you're watching AEW, you can enjoy it for what it is, just sports entertainment. But you know, even though it will be entertaining, you know the outcome is decided, right? You accept that for what it is. We don't accept that in football and basketball and baseball and hockey and whatever, NASCAR, tennis, golf, etc. We choose not to accept that the outcome is predetermined because I don't believe it is. Having said that, I think something we can all relate to is there has come a time in all of our sports fandom, whether you're a Seminole, a Gator, a Jaguar, a Bulldog, a Steeler, a Hurricane, a Raven, whatever you are, there has come a time to accept or to look at a situation and say, you know what? I think we got the business here. I think something was done to my team or to my player. I'll give you a prime example. 2003, Florida State. That game was 22 years ago. 22 years ago. I remember like it was yesterday, and I remember the referee's name was Jack Childress. Gator fans remember him? Was it 7 calls all went Florida State's way? Whether the whistle blew, the knee was down, the knee wasn't down, whatever it was, all 7 questionable calls in Florida State 2003 went the Seminoles' way. Jack Childress, by the way, led an Atlantic Coast Conference officiating crew that night at Ben Hill Griffin Stadium in the Swamp. It was the last time ACC officials were allowed in the Swamp for that game for a few years. I know Jeremy Foley, I believe, caused a stink about that, and I don't blame him. I still think 22 years later that was an odd situation. I'm sure you have a situation in your memory where you thought an umpire, a referee, a replay, something wasn't right. We got the business. There's other verbiage you can say, but I'm going to choose not to say it because I like to stay employed. But we got the business on that call. Those are sports conspiracy theories, right? We all have them. You know, I look at a couple of other situations. Miles Jack wasn't down because he wasn't down. Jaguars got the business there. Do I think the fix was in? No. But I do remember Cleet Blakeman in that 2017 AFC Championship game, the lead official, going over to congratulate Tom Brady immediately after he took the final knee in Foxborough. And I remember thinking, that's just not a good look. A lot of questionable calls, all went New England's way, and Cleet Blakeman decides to go congratulate Tom Brady right when the game ended. And Jaguar fans, I know you'll remember that. That was a bad look. Just like it was a bad look for Jack Childress in 2003 as an ACC official to have every call go Florida State's way. 1993, Warwick Dunn up the sideline. Probably legit, except they missed a clear block in the back on Tamarick Vanover. That touchdown shouldn't have counted, in my humble opinion. Now, look, Florida State's gotten the business many times. I still think Warwick Dunn scored 95 in Charlottesville. That Thursday night that Virginia beat you. I think Warwick Dunn scored on that play. Referee said no. Virginia storms the field. It's Florida State's first loss in the ACC. We all have sports conspiracies. We all have things that we believe happened to our team or to our favorite player that the, quote, fix was in or we got the business or whatever. But you overlook them enough as time goes by because we choose to believe that sports are on the up and up, that sports is not WWE, that sports is not sports entertainment. But when a situation like the draft lottery last night happens, knowing Dallas traded Luka to L.A., knowing LeBron's going to retire sooner rather than later, L.A. needed a star. People were saying, why on earth is Dallas trading one of the best players in the league for nothing, basically, an aging Anthony Davis? And then all of a sudden, 2 months later, Dallas, who had less than a 2% chance of winning the draft lottery, wins the draft lottery and can now draft Cooper Flagg? Was that the NBA saying thank you to Dallas for doing Luka Doncic and the NBA a favor and sending him to L.A.? I don't know. That's for you to decide. That's a conspiracy theory. It's fun to talk about. Do I really believe an umpire or an official or a referee has changed the outcome of a game? Well, Tim Donaghy, that was real, right? That happened. He wrote a book about it. He got charged. So, yeah, it has happened.
The one that sticks out is Miami, Ohio State national title.
Yeah, Terry Porter.
That is...
Terry Porter.
That was, yeah.
No question. That flag came out way late. Way late. That's what I'm saying. It doesn't matter if you're a Gator, a Seminole, a Hurricane, a Jaguar. We all have them. We all have them. Then they hurt. They hurt as much now as they did 22, 12, or 2 years ago. But if we all have them, regardless of who you support, then obviously the refs have it out for everybody, right? I mean, come on. The refs don't have it out for everybody. Refs make mistakes. Things happen. And we all have to deal with them, even though they're fun to talk about as sports conspiracies. 641-1010. Hit me up on the text line. Designed by Lifetime Enclosures. Who's your team? What's your sports conspiracy? What game, moment did your team get the business? Do you think something was afoot? Shenanigans were at hand? And if you're a Florida State fan, you can tell me what you think of my 03 thought about Jack Childress or my 93 thought about the block in the back with Tamarick Vanover. I'll argue with you until I'm blue in the face. Go watch work done going up the sideline. Tell me Tamarick Vanover didn't block Anthony Lott in the back. Honestly, tell me that. Referee didn't call it, but there was a block in the back, man. That was, what was that? 32 years ago. Remember it like it was yesterday. Mike DeRocco, ESPN.com. We lovingly call him D-Rock. Let's talk Jaguar rookie minicamp. Let's talk Travis Hunter. Let's talk Jaguar rookie class. Let's talk OTAs that begin next week. Mike DeRocco, ESPN.com, next on a Tuesday night in Jacksonville, Florida, right here. It's Hacker After Dark.
Your home for the best Jags coverage.
We go out, we hit people in the mouth.
1010XL, Jacksonville Sports Radio, and 92.5 FM.
PRP treatment is kind of the thing these days, and in many cases, it eliminates the need for surgery. This is Sheridan Tootin, and my experience with PRP from Southeast Orthopedic Specialist has been nothing short of great. I'm really feeling much better now. Ask your Southeast Orthopedic Specialist doctor about PRP treatment.
This is Dr. Kevin Murphy with Southeast Orthopedic Specialists, where athletes are treated like pros.
Relieve pain and get back to life. Southeast Orthopedic Specialists.
Are you thinking about a pool for your home? Blue Haven Pools is Jacksonville's largest pool builder. They've built pools for over 20,000 satisfied families since 2000. It's never been easier to design the perfect pool for your home, family, and budget. Call Blue Haven Pools today at 904-620-0090 to get a free in-home estimate for your in-ground pool, or visit bluehaven.com. Don't let another summer pass by without a pool. Join thousands of happy Jacksonville pool owners in a Blue Haven pool.
If your ride is making strange noises, don't wait and make it work. Come to Action Transmission on Merrill Road. My expert technicians can diagnose the problem and likely fix it fast. Experience the difference at Action Transmission on Merrill Road.
Okay, here we go with our final lightning round on Potty Talk. Top 3 answers on the board. Ready? Okay. The best way to save money when your faucets or pipes are leaking.
Roland Reese Plumbing?
Something to help you avoid clogged sewers and drains.
Roland Reese Plumbing.
The technical term for that ba-whoosh sound when a toilet flushes correctly.
Roland Reese Plumbing.
Roland Reese Plumbing is always the right answer. Roland Reese Plumbing, 260-7059.
Cooking with Prisco.
These things are wonderful. You're going to love it. Have a rollie.
Catch CBS Sports senior NFL writer Pete Prisco every Friday afternoon on The Franchi Show. Brought to you by Showtime Sports Cards and Collectibles on 1010XL.
Baloo here for Smoonez Vision. Why Smoonez Vision? Well, I've been with Dr. Neil Smoonez now since I got back to Jacksonville in 2006. 37 years of experience he has. Smoonez Vision is a family organization that focuses on personal high-quality medical and surgical eye care. Dr. Catherine Smoonez is fellowship trained in cornea and cataract surgery and all refractive surgery. Combined, that's 30 years plus in laser eye surgery. Visit SmoonezVision.com today. Here you can see.
Poker players, get ready for the action. The $200 no-limit hold'em Stars and Stripes poker tournament happens at Best Bet Orange Park on May 26th. With 6 starting flights and a guaranteed prize pool of $50,000, it's your chance to claim victory and win big. And there's more. Don't miss $42,000 in high hands every 30 minutes from 10 a.m. to midnight at all 3 locations. For more details on how to join the action, visit bestbetjacks.com. That's bestbetjacks.com.
Jacksonville, you know a good defense wins games, and a good fence protects your home. Frank Frangie here. Coil Fencing has been around the block since 1927. Literally, they probably fenced it too. From tough chain link to sleek aluminum fences your HOA will love, Coil is the name to trust. Nearly a century strong and still standing tall. Call Coil today. You can trust them. Call 904-356-4821 or visit coiljacks.com. That's COYLE Jacks.com.
Got a cracked windshield? Not only is it dangerous, but did you know it's also illegal? Call Baker Glass. Mac and his crew use the best auto glass in the market, and they accept most insurance. Plus, all new windshields come with a full warranty. From cars to trucks to RVs, you can count on Baker Glass to be fast and friendly. Just check out their Google reviews. Come see us at the shop on Casta Avenue, or we can come to you at your home or business.
I'm back with Baker Glass. No one treats you better.
Hey, Hicken here. So much of what makes us a family takes place in our homes. That's where Zero Res comes in. I love Zero Res, and this month get Zero Resified from Jacksonville's #1 carpet and air duct cleaner with May Mayhem. A 3-room special starting at $149 plus the 4th room is free. You owe it to yourself and your family to breathe healthy, happy, and clean. Call Zero Res 28757 or go online at ZeroResJacksonville.com and say you want the Hicken special. Zero Res, spell it forwards or backwards. It's the right way to clean.
Zero Res.
You'll always feel good when you send someone a Kuhn Flowers floral or plant arrangement. This is JJ with 1010XL, and no matter what the reason, Kuhn Flowers has always come through for me. Order online at KuhnFlowers.com.
1010XL is presented by Farah & Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville. Now, another great guest on the Checkmate Coatings phone line.
Hello.
Your floor's missing piece.
Back here on 1010XL at 92.5 FM in the city of Jacksonville. We are glad you are with us. Rookie minicamp for the Jaguars in the rearview mirror. They will start OTAs beginning next week, and we are about a month away now from the mandatory veteran minicamp. Mike DeRocco, ESPN.com. We call him D-Rock. Does a great job covering the Jacksonville Jaguars, and D-Rock is always kind enough to join us here on 1010XL. D-Rock, how you doing, man?
I'm doing well. How about you?
Hey, Mike, we're good. Thank you, as always, for the time. And all right, first and foremost, rookie minicamp in the rearview mirror. I mean, it was what it was. It was rookies running around in helmets and shorts. But I got to tell you, man, the fan base really showed out. You can tell the excitement in this city, not only for Travis Hunter, but I think for the new regime that has taken over here in Jacksonville.
Yeah, no question. Media was in on Saturday. I know there were some fans and sponsors and, invited guests on the Friday workout, but obviously I didn't see that one. But I know that as soon as the Jaguars broke their warm-up lines and started, going over to drills and Travis Hunter started jogging over to where he was supposed to be, the crowd went crazy. And, it reminds me of the enthusiasm way back in 2014 when right after they drafted Blake and they opened that first rookie mini camp. It was packed. I mean, obviously this is a different situation, but I'm getting the feel that the city is excited about this season and excited about Travis Hunter and excited about the new regime way more than I kind of anticipated that they would be. I thought there was a little bit of fatigue from all the stuff that went on the last 2 years, but man, they have flipped the page and they are ready to go.
Yeah, there's no doubt about that. And I haven't talked to you since the draft. So let's begin with Travis Hunter. Talk about making a statement for a 34-year-old general manager in James Gladstone, swinging for the fence, right? His first time at bat. What did you make of the trade for Travis Hunter, and how do you think Travis Hunter will work in here in Jacksonville?
I love the move. I know there are people that are not thrilled with it because they gave up the 2026 first round pick. But the way the Jags look at it is that pick is probably going to be in the 20s because they're expecting to win this division and they're expecting to at least be competing for the playoffs at the very worst. So, look, he talked about it before James Gladstone did before the draft about, we're not going to shy away from the chance or the opportunity to be bold, and we're going to do and make the decisions, do the things and make the decisions that we feel are going to be, the most important decisions for us to be competitive. And sometimes that may mean taking a chance, and that's exactly what they did. But I applaud it. What they've done before hasn't worked. So try something new, try something different. And they went and they got the guy that everybody thinks, or every analyst you talk to rated him as the best player in the draft. So I really, really liked the move. I thought it was a chance to show the rest of the league that, hey, it's not business as usual down here in Jacksonville anymore. This is a new regime. Will it work? I don't know. I really don't. I know that their plan for Hunter at this point right now seems to be really, really solid. They've started him out on offense. And when they hit the field this week, he's going to do some stuff on defense in the last week of phase 2 of the offseason program. So I'm expecting to see him in OTAs, do some time on both sides of the ball. But, they've really stressed the idea of being flexible with this and kind of taking it, not winging it, but certainly, you got to consider his body. You got to consider, his conditioning. You got to consider the mental load you're giving this kid. And you just kind of figure out how you can get him to where you feel like he's okay to play both sides of the ball in the season opener. I don't know how many snaps that's going to be on defense. I don't know how many snaps it's going to be on offense. It's sort of a work in progress, but I'm encouraged by the fact that they didn't draft him and then thought, okay, we got to come up with a plan. They wanted to go draft him and came up with a plan before they even drafted him.
Mike DiRocco of ESPN.com. D-Rock, I think the other rookies, along with Travis Hunter, I think there's a lot of excitement about Wyatt Milam. I think there's certainly going to be a competition there, maybe at left guard between he and Ezra Cleveland. I think Caleb Ransaw, I know Liam Cohen talked about him in the post-practice press conference on Saturday as a guy that maybe stood out. He also mentioned Jack Kaiser as well as a guy that stood out. And then online, the fan base really seems pretty excited about Bashal Tutin from Virginia Tech. Now, I had Brent Pry on, his head coach, last week, and talking about Tutin. I think, the Bucky Irving factor, what Liam Cohen did in Tampa with a mid-round pick, has people excited. What did you make, though, of the other rookies not named Travis Hunter this past weekend?
Well, I was really impressed with Milam, and I think there were 3 offensive linemen there. So obviously, you don't get a chance to see the physicalness of these guys, and we won't until training camp. But he's a big, thick dude who moves really, really well. I'm expecting him to enter that competition with Ezra Cleveland, like you mentioned, to be the starting left guard, and it wouldn't surprise me if he wins it. You mentioned the other guy who I think will end up being a starter on opening day, which is Ramshaw. I think he could be one of the bigger pleasant surprises here. You know, I know you look at the safety position and the guys that they have here. There's a lot of experienced guys here, but we all know that Eric Murray is a 1-2 year guy, and you've got to find some young players to slide in there and become starters for you. And I think Ramshaw, with what he can do and his coverage ability and how physical he is, I think he could be a starter from day one, right opposite Murray. And then, you know, you kind of just let him go. And, you know, you're going to take some lumps with these rookies in the lineups, but, you know, that's what you have to do. If you truly are going to build through the draft, like they said, you have to play a lot of rookies. And, you know, the Rams did it. Obviously, we always compare James Gladstone and his philosophy and what he's doing to the work that the Rams did. And they've had success playing rookies. So if you've evaluated them correctly and you have done your work, play these kids, and, you know, you'll take your lumps, but eventually it pays off.
No, I agree. And I look at some of the late round guys as well. You know, LaQuint Allen from Syracuse. Jonah Monheim is a guy from USC that I know the Jaguars really liked. And in talking to Lincoln Riley last week, his head coach out there at Southern Cal, Lincoln Riley was shocked that he went in the 7th round. He thought he got way underdrafted. I wonder if the Jaguars might have found a gem in the 7th round with a guy in Monheim, a guy that started a lot of games, both at tackle, guard, and then obviously center this past season.
Yeah, I think that pick right there is that is the pick that you kind of hope if Hainsey in a year or two, you know, and you're ready to move on from Hainsey, the guy you signed from the Bucs, because just to go back a little bit, all of those guys that they signed to 3-year deals in free agency, like Hainsey and McCarry and you know, and Lewis and Murray, they're essentially 2-year deals. You can get out of all those deals after the 2nd year and pay minimal dead money. So, you know, if Hainsey is okay, but man, develops and you're able to kind of roll him in there after this year or next year, you found a gem, a late round gem. And I do think that he's probably, I think the guy that probably should be a little bit nervous or a lot nervous when they made that pick was Luke Fortner. Mm-hmm. Because if you look at this group of offensive linemen they've brought in, the one thing is versatility. They all play different spots. I mean, they can all play different spots in the NFL or have all played different spots in the NFL or in college. Fortner's the only guy he's a center, and that's what he is. So I would be a little bit nervous if I were Luke Fortner to see, you know, wait a minute, maybe my spot here is in jeopardy.
Final moments with Mike DiRocco of ESPN.com. D-Rock, Gabe Davis was released last week. I guess not really a surprise in the sense that I don't know how much they were actually going to rely on Gabe Davis. I don't know how fully healthy he is. And if you're wide receiver 4 or 5, you have to play special teams. And I don't think Gabe Davis is going to play a whole lot of special teams. But with Gabe Davis gone now, all right, you look at that wide receiver room, De'Ami Brown, Brian Thomas Jr., Travis Hunter, obviously, Parker Washington, and then kind of a void, right? They got to find a wide receiver 5, potentially a wide receiver 6. Do you think they're going to bring somebody in, or could it be one of these undrafted free agents?
I think they'd rather it be one of the undrafted free agents. I don't anticipate them, you know, going out and looking for a veteran wide receiver. Now, obviously, you keep your eye to the waiver wire, and you see if someone else, you know, ends up free that you weren't expecting. But, you know, they brought Josh Cephas back, and, you know, he participated in the rookie mini camp just, you know, for that, I guess, reason that he's at least a little bit more experienced, that maybe I would give him a slight edge going into camp. But, you know, a lot of inexperience there. But you're right. Those 4th and 5th guys have to play special teams. And sometimes the 5th guy is not active on game day. So it's not necessarily a spot that if they don't fill or if they don't find a guy until the end of camp that it's a bad thing. It's more so just making sure that you've got the right depth guy there, because they pretty much have I know Brian Thomas can play in the slot, and I'm sure they will move Diami Brown around into the slot too. But really, the only slot receiver they have right now is Parker Washington. So that's going to be interesting to see if they view that as a position that they have to bring someone in to be the backup slot, or whether it's let's just take the best guy that we can find and we'll figure it out from there. But again, fifth receiver, probably not going to play very much anyway.
Mike, I think actions speak louder than words, and the fact the Jaguars did not add an interior defensive lineman in the draft must mean that Mason Smith, Armstead, Hamilton, Jefferson, and I guess Tyler Lacey are the five guys they feel comfortable with going into the season.
Yeah, and that was a surprise for me because I think we all talked about how much the interior of the defensive line was a need because they just didn't really get much there. Armstead is the big move, obviously bringing him from the outside back to the inside. And I think at the end of the season, we saw Mason Smith really kind of make some strides. And he was one of those rookies that I was really impressed with because he talked to us late in the season when he started playing more, and he was pretty honest about, it's all my fault that I haven't been on the field. Like I wasn't doing the things that I needed to do to take care of my body. I wasn't doing the things I needed to do in terms of extra work. I had to learn how to do that, and I didn't do it enough to really warrant being on the field. And for a rookie to kind of have that maturity and to realize that, and then not only realize it, but fix it during the season, that was really impressive to me. So, clearly he's a guy that they really do like. I don't know what they're going to get out of Devon Hamilton inside because he's just not been the same player since he had the back infection there. But, they feel pretty good about Mason Smith and Eric Armstead. So there's two guys. And the other guys are going to be, rotational guys in there as well. Jordan Jefferson's a big kid who they really feel like can be a good run stop guy. So they've got some pieces. They just clearly didn't view it as the major need that the rest of us did.
Mike, as we begin to wrap up, it was a rookie mini camp. We were out there for a day. You were out there for literally a couple of hours. So I'm not asking you to be Nostradamus here for 2-3 months down the road. But was there an undrafted guy on Saturday that you noticed that you said, I'm going to keep an eye on him moving forward?
Not at all, to be honest with you, because I was watching Travis Hunter 99% of the time, and the other 1% of the time I was watching Wyatt Miles, to be honest with you. I don't want to just throw a name out there to throw a name out there. So, there was really not anybody that I was looking out there just going, hey, maybe this guy's a guy that's got a chance.
Let's end with this. Biggest question mark that you have about this roster as we enter the OTA portion of the offseason beginning next week?
Yeah, that's actually a really good question. I hadn't really considered what the biggest question is. I'm still not sure what the tight end rotation is going to look like. What are they going to get out of Brenton Strange as the pass catcher? And is there another guy that they can count on to be a pass catching tight end for them? How is the linebacker room going to shake out? Does Devin Lloyd definitely have a starting role here? Or is, Kaiser was one of those guys that was singled out by, Liam Cohen for a guy who, was impressive at the rookie minicamp. Can he be a guy that works his way, into the starting lineup? What does that mean for Chad Muma? So I'm really interested to see kind of how those two position groups kind of flesh themselves out during training camp. So those would probably be my two biggest questions.
D-Rock, what do you have coming out on ESPN.com in the coming days?
Well, if I can ever finish it, it will be a big Travis Hunter feature about him having to deal with the expectations of being the face of the franchise and being a guy who does something that no one in the NFL has done in almost 50 years, which is be a regular player on both sides of the ball. And, I talked to a lot of people in his past, a lot of coaches that he played for, and That's coming out. Man, I think at some point this week I'm putting the finishing touches on it today. So that's the big story I have coming out.
Mike DeRocco, ESPN.com. D-Rock, appreciate you as always. I'll see you out there at OTAs next week.
Absolutely. Thanks, Hack.
Tensions build.
3rd and 12. Let's go.
Plot thickens.
We got to get off the field.
Crowds roar. Tune in and let the show begin. Your home for live play-by-play is 1010XL.
When the unexpected happens, you shouldn't have to face it alone. I'm Chris Campione, and at Campione Law, we're here to fight for you. Whether it's an auto accident or a slip and fall, our Jacksonville team takes care of every detail, from investigating the incident to securing multi-million-dollar verdicts, so you can focus on getting better. And remember, you don't pay a dime unless we win your case. Our commitment is 24/7, bringing you the real support from real people who really care. Campione Law, your dedicated partners in justice. Visit CampioneLaw.com.
Count on Campione, Campione Law.
Here's Linda Beaver.
Mayday, mayday, mayday.
Come in, Linda. Over.
We've got a sea of new vehicles and they're priced so low they're rocking the boat. Come check out our biggest selection of inventory with prices that don't break the bank and our wow ya experience that will ensure smooth sailing for your next car purchase. Plus, take advantage of our peace of mind warranties, transparent pricing to provide you with a peace of mind. You better beat the surge and head to the all-new Beaver Toyota or Chevrolet for the car buying experience you deserve.
Hey, this is Coach Jason Gibson of your Jacksonville Sharks. I know the importance of a strong game plan, and that's exactly what I've got with Clay Solar Installation Partners. They did the install of the solar panels at my house, and I couldn't be happier. Lower energy bills, clean power, and a winning team that made the whole process easy. If you're looking to save money and go solar, trust the pros at Clay Solar. Call Karen at Clay Solar today and tell them that Coach Gibson sent you.
E.T. here, and if you've ever been injured in an accident, you have 14 days to see a doctor and protect your insurance benefits. You have the right to choose your own doctor, too. And I recommend McGowan Spinal Rehabilitation, the auto accident experts.
A judge swings a gavel and I pound the hammer. I'm not judging, just hammering. Hammer Time with Hayes Carlyon, weekdays on The Frangie Show.
Hammer Time with Hayes, driven by Southside Kia on 1010XL.
Keeping kids active is a full-time job for parents. Look no further, though, than I-9 Sports, covering Duval, St. John's, and Clay to get your youngster in the game. Spring and summer registration open right now for flag football, soccer, t-ball, and basketball. Plus, all new girls volleyball at Duval Charter Bay Meadows. I-9 Sports with fields and gyms all over 3 counties. And the best thing is I-9 Sports offers sports year-round so kids can always find a sport to play. i9sports.com. Enter 1010 in the promo code.
Your home is more than walls and a roof. It's where you breathe, drink, and power through life. At Donovan Air Electric and Plumbing, we're here to keep it all running smoothly. From clean, cool air to clean water, reliable power to expert plumbing, we do it all. For over 35 years, families have trusted Donovan to make their homes healthier, safer, and more comfortable. Call Donovan Air Electric and Plumbing today, 904-270-COOL, where health meets home.
Keep your ride summer road trip ready with parts, tools, and accessories from Summit Racing. We have what you need for pre-trip maintenance, plus essentials like emergency roadside kits, tire inflators, jumper cables, boost jump starters, tool sets, and a whole lot more. So hit the highways or take the roads less traveled with confidence. Shop SummitRacing.com. Use promo code RADIO for $10 off an order of $100 or more. Exclusions apply. Offer ends May 25th, 2025. SummitRacing.com. Let's build it together.
Hey gang, Prosser here, and it's always great when you can replace a problem with a promise. And let me get right down to it. When it comes to Chad and Sandy and selling your home, here's a promise that you can count on. Chad and Sandy guarantee your home sold at an agreed-upon price and deadline, or they will buy it. Now, more. Spring selling season is here. Rates are down. Activity's up. Now's the best time in years to sell your home. Some homes are sitting on the market, though, and hiring an expert who can maximize your equity and minimize hassle is the key. Those expert agents, and I'm recommending them to sell your home, Chad and Sandy Newman. There have been lots of you out there on the First Coast who are taking advantage. Take David and Heather in Fox Ridge. This is out in Orange Park. We wanted to move to Keystone Heights to get closer to family, away from the city. We heard Chad and Sandy on the radio and called. What you hear is true. We got multiple offers and sold in 3 days for $15,000 above asking price. Call the local experts I trust and recommend to sell my home and yours. Call Chad and Sandy, 414-6200.
ChadAndSandy.com.
Don't be sidelined from an injury that keeps you out of the game. Get the care the pros receive. Now available at Injury Care Centers, newly FDA regenerative treatments that will significantly shorten your recovery time. Sprains, strains, fractures, post-op surgeries, cut your recovery time in half or shorter. Masking pain just makes it worse. Fix it now. Call 904-783-0008. That's 904-783-0008. Injury care starts at Injury Care Centers.
This Saturday, Navy Mutual would like to salute all men and women that serve in our armed forces. In 1949, President Truman designated the third Saturday in May as Armed Forces Day due to the unification of all 5 branches of our military into the Department of Defense.
Committed to the mission. At Navy Mutual, we're committed to providing high-quality life insurance to members of the military and their families. Because at Navy Mutual, our highest commitment is to you. Visit NavyMutual.org.
When it comes to towing products, your safety is the priority at Cannons of Jacksonville. Cannons has decades of experience to ensure your towing setup is installed with precision and reliability. Visit cannonsofjacks.com, your trusted partner for a smoother tow.
1010XL is presented by Farah and Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville. Hacker After Dark on 1010XL.
Yes, it is. Till 8 o'clock. In for Rick Ballou the rest of the week. Following us at 8 o'clock tonight, Open Gym with R.J. Saunders as the local programming will continue till 10 o'clock right here on 1010XL and on 92.5 FM. We will talk more draft lottery. We'll talk about the devastating injury for Jason Tatum of the Celtics. A little NBA playoff talk as well. My buddy Trevor Lane, the host of the NBA Front Office Show, he comes up in less than 20 minutes. The ACC spring meetings. We're up at Amelia Island. I believe XL Primetime has been there the last couple of days talking to coaches. I know they talked to Dabo Sweeney, Mario Cristobal, Bill O'Brien, among others. I don't particularly think the Atlantic Coast Conference is a good conference when it comes to football. I'm not breaking any news there. However, just because they're not a good conference top to bottom doesn't mean there are not some pretty compelling storylines when it comes to ACC football. All right, let me give you a couple of them, and let's just kind of talk this out. Obviously, in our area, it revolves around Florida State and Miami, and we'll get to that. But arguably, the number one storyline in all of college football coming into the 2025 season is how will Bill Belichick do at the University of North Carolina? It has not gotten off to a great start. He had that weird interview promoting his book. By the way, my wife got that book and read the entire thing in a day and a half. So she loved it, by the way.
What'd you think about it?
She loved it. I mean, it quotes Tom Brady and Gronk and Edelman. I mean, she's a Pats girl. She's a New England sports girl. So she loved it. But I know the book itself was kind of put on the back burner after that weird CBS interview. And the whole Jordan Hudson thing, you know, Belichick's 73 and his girlfriend's 24. Just very, very interesting when you say it out loud. But there's no doubt that what he does or doesn't do at North Carolina is going to be a compelling storyline. And Denmark, I got to tell you, man, I was intrigued when they hired him. But as we've gotten further along here and as you can kind of see the season off in the horizon, man, I think North Carolina made a mistake. You know, John Summerall from Tulane, maybe I'm a little biased because I had him on last week. He was nice enough to come on to talk about Caleb Ransaw. He's with Tulane. The guy's 31-9 in 3 years of college coaching at Troy and at Tulane. And he was going to take that job, right? And they ended up giving it to Belichick instead. I got a feeling North Carolina is going to regret that decision.
Yeah, I don't know if they're going to regret it, but I think he's going to coach this year, and then he'll just up and leave in the middle of the day one day and just say, I'm done with this. And I think that's going to be it for him. Like, how just like he did with the Jets job many years ago, it would not surprise me. I think that's going to happen. I think he'll coach. I saw a Vegas sportsbook had North Carolina at 7.5 wins, and the most tickets bet is the under on North Carolina under 7.5.
Do you think the NFL comes calling for him again?
No. There's been no talk whatsoever. And I think that you would have had some chatter at least about him in the NFL the last year or so outside of the Falcons of him getting back in the league. And I think he wants to get back in the league because he wants to break, that winning record of Don Shula. But I don't think it's going to happen.
Yeah, I would tend to agree with you. We'll see what happens with North Carolina. But again, in fairness, I don't think the ACC is a good football conference at all, but they have the biggest storyline coming into the year. Outside of that, let's go to Clemson now. Dabo Swinney and the Tigers, Cade Klubnik back at quarterback. A lot of expectations on Clemson. I know Josh Pate of CBS Sports 24/7. We're going to hopefully have Josh on towards the end of the week here on Hacker After Dark. Josh was actually in Gainesville today interviewing Billy Napier. But I know Josh has Clemson at number 1 in his post-spring rankings. A lot of expectations on the Tigers. People have kind of forgotten about Clemson the last couple of years. They haven't had Deshaun Watson or Trevor Lawrence. They've fallen back to the pack a little bit, although they're still consistently winning, 8, 9, 10 games a year. Could Clemson make a little bit of a resurgence this year? For the ACC's sake, I hope so. The ACC doesn't need to be represented by SMU again in the playoff. And then when it comes to our area, Miami and Florida State, we'll get to the Noles in a second. Quickly to Miami. I know Cristobal was on XL Primetime earlier today. You might not like Miami. You might not like Mario Cristobal, but there is no doubt they have killed the portal this year. They have gotten just about anybody they wanted. They just got the number 1 offensive tackle in America. The 5-star, is it Jackson Cantwell, I believe is his name. They got him from, it was between Miami, Georgia, Oregon, and Ohio State, and he chooses the Canes earlier this afternoon. Cristobal is doing some things with roster construction. Now, will that translate onto the field? They got to replace an awful lot. When you lose the Heisman from, I guess what did Cam Ward finish? Second in Heisman voting. He was the number 1 pick in the draft. You lose guys like Damian Martinez, Xavier Restrepo, Tyler Barron, Jalen Rivers. They lost a lot of guys that they're going to need to replace. And the season does not start off easy for Miami. 2 of their first 4 games are Notre Dame and Florida. Now, I believe they get both of those in Miami, which helps. But we're going to know real quick about Carson Beck and the Canes when you got to play the Irish and the Gators in the first 4 weeks of the year. Denmark, do you buy the Miami hype? And again, it's not even hype so much. You look at what Cristobal's done in the portal. They've clearly had the best transfer portal of any team in America this offseason.
Yeah, I think it'll be, the top 3 or 4 teams in the ACC, Clemson and Miami is going to be in that conversation. Because Klubnik is, I think, going to be the best quarterback in the ACC. Carson Beck is going to be up there. And then the question is who's going to be 3, 4, 5. Is Florida State going to be much better than they were a year ago? Is SMU going to rattle off what they did a year ago? But Miami and Clemson are the 1-2. That's the favorite. And then there's everyone else.
The ACC needs a Virginia Tech, a North Carolina State, a Georgia Tech, someone like that to have a better year than expected. Because you're right. How many ACC teams are there now with Cal and Stanford? You're talking 14, 15, 16 teams? You could say that 10 or 11 of them just aren't any good, quite frankly. The good teams coming into the year we expect to be good are Clemson, Miami. You think SMU, although they got to replace a lot. You hope Florida State can rebound. Louisville, who knows? They potentially could be good. We'll see about Belichick in North Carolina. But you need another team, whether it is the Demon Deacons, the Wolfpack, the Yellow Jackets, the Hokies. You need somebody like that to emerge, take a step forward. Quickly to Florida State. The schedule's hard again. It's a hard schedule. I mean, when you play Miami, you play Clemson, you play Florida, you play Alabama. I mean, right out of the gate, those four. Alabama, Clemson, Miami, and Florida. Are the Seminoles going to win any of those games? They got to go to Florida, and they got to go to Clemson. They do get Alabama at home. Oh, that's a 3:30 kick that was announced today. That kind of sucks. I thought that would be an 8 o'clock under the lights game at Doak Campbell. 3:30 ABC for Alabama, Florida State. Denmark, do the Noles win any of those games? Miami, Alabama, Clemson, or Florida?
No.
I would tend to think they don't either. They might get one. So. I would think best case scenario, they get one of the three. So let's say they get one. So there's 3 losses right there. You got to go to Stanford. You play NC State. I believe Pitt is on the schedule this year. You're going to have to win some of those games. Look, 2-10 was a disaster. They will be better than 2-10 by default because you can't be any worse than 2-10, and you play 2 garbage opponents. So you're going to win 2 games by just showing up. 6-6 is a massive improvement. Does 6-6 save Mike Norvell his job? It's 4 more wins than last year. It's a big jump. I don't know if that saves him his job. I mean, I think any Florida State fan that's talking about 9-3 or 8-4, you're living in la-la land with this schedule, unless they are way better than I think they're going to be. I think they can get to a bowl game, but again, 6-6, 7-5, that might not be what you want to hear, but to me, that would probably be a good year for Florida State. It's a massive improvement over where they were last year at 2-10. More on the college gridiron coming up in the 7 o'clock hour. Coming up next, boy, what a night in the NBA last night. Jason Tatum, ruptured Achilles, gone for the playoffs, gone for probably all of next season for the Celtics. The craziness, and I mean craziness, of the NBA draft lottery. Giannis might want out of Milwaukee. And oh, by the way, the NBA playoffs are still in full swing. There's a lot to get into, a lot of conspiracy theories to tackle. One of my favorites, Trevor Lane, host of the NBA Front Office Show. He joins me next on a Tuesday night here in Jacksonville. We're glad you're with us. Hacker After Dark, 1010XL and 92.5 FM.
Some situations call for mystery.
Yes, the answer would be...
And sometimes they call for 1010XL.
Bingo.
As a Florida homeowner, you're no stranger to mosquito problems. And although it's tempting to use DIY methods to get rid of them, mosquitoes are relentless. That's why it's important to enlist the help of the mosquito experts at Florida Pest Control. At Florida Pest Control, we offer specialized treatment solutions that are effective against mosquito infestations and are committed to keeping our customers protected year-round. For your free quote, give us a call or visit flapest.com today. Florida Pest Control, your local mosquito control experts.
Life is just so busy this time of year. Between work, the kids' games, family vacations, I need a yard hero to free up my weekends.
You mean somebody who does mowing and trimming?
Yeah.
How about mosquito control?
Yeah.
What about irrigation and pet waste removal?
You do that too? You're my lawn hero.
Find your lawn hero at heroeslawncare.com. Heroes Lawn Care, because every lawn needs a hero.
Homeowners, storms don't wait, so why should you? Protect your home and your wallet with Universal Roof and Contracting. Save 15% on roof replacements and repairs now through May 31st. Financing is available with payments as low as $115. Call 855-ROOF-HELP for your free inspection. Universal Roof and Contracting, protecting your home, building your trust. License number CCC 057165, CBC 125-8484.
UniversalRoof.com. The flagship station of the Jaguars. WJXL AM Jacksonville Beach. WJXL FM Jacksonville Beach.
It's the perfect day. You're just driving along, listening to your favorite music. The window's down. There's a cool breeze. Life is good. But wait, hold on a second. You're not wearing a seatbelt? You'd better put that on before that... Uh-oh, too late. Cops everywhere are stepping up enforcement, so you'd better buckle up or you will get caught. Sorry to ruin your day. Click it or ticket.
Funded by the Florida Department of Transportation.
DivorceMenOnly.com. This is Kenny Lay of Kenny Lay and Associates. Our firm specializes in representing men in family law. That's all we do. That's our only focus. We can help with all of your family law needs, such as divorce, custody, alimony, and child support. For over a decade, we have helped thousands of men with these types of issues. We even have an appellate division ready to challenge a judge's ruling. If you need a family law attorney, go to DivorceMenOnly.com. DivorceMenOnly.com. Offices, Jacksonville.
Okay, sports fans, Hicken here. Let's talk skin. I and Beaches Dermatology are reminding you all to wear your sunscreen. Spring is here, and that means more time outside. Grabbing the clubs for your tea time? Bring the screen. Heading out on the boat? Bring the screen. Headed to the beach? Definitely bring the sunscreen. All in all, make sure sunscreen is included in your outdoor activities. If you have any concerns now, give Beaches Dermatology a call. I've been seeing them for years, and my skin thanks me for it. Call today online at beachesdermatology.com.
Hacker here with an opportunity. Drop 40 pounds by the 4th. You can do it. I dropped my first 40 in 6 weeks. Hayes did it, Dempsey, Ballou, and thousands of others have done it. 40 by the 4th with Awaken180weightloss.com.
It's tune-up time, and Florida Home AC, the official AC partner of the Jaguars, wants to partner with you for a cool summer season. Tune up your AC unit right now so it's running at peak performance when you need it most. Just call 777-4300 and order a tune-up for just $59. Keep your unit humming at optimal level. Log on to FloridaHomeAC.com and take advantage of their savings. Keep cool with Florida Home AC. That's 777-4300.
Mike Dempsey here. Look, you know, it's been 10 years that I've been vouching for my guys at Dandy Foods, and for a decade, I'm proud of my association with a local family business. They make a great product. I've made no secret that I was a customer long before Dandy ever came on board on 1010XL. But I'm thinking I'm due a little Dandy swag, maybe a little love. How about a Dandy t-shirt, a ball cap? So how about it, Thompson family? What do you got going on over there? In the meantime, I'm going to keep eating those delicious tuna salad sandwiches. So guys, keep helping me out and grab a Dandy sandwich today.
Say goodbye to glasses and contacts with customized vision treatments at Bowden Eye & Associates. Hey, Hicken here. Dr. Bowden and his expert team bring you all the latest options like Evo implantable Colimer lenses, refractive lens exchange, or traditional LASIK. Tailored just for you. Imagine waking up to clear vision. No hassle, no fuss. You ready to see the difference? Call now or visit BowdenEye.com for a free screening. Bowden Eye & Associates, keeping the First Coast focused.
Instant Keys. You don't have to go to the dealer. Instant Keys comes to you. Call 904-722-1111.
Instant Keys saves the day if you've lost or broken keys. They can program new keys and remotes for nearly every make and model of vehicle at a fraction of the dealership cost. Fast, honest, and reliable locksmith service. Call Instant Keys, 722-1111.
Have you got concrete or asphalt rubble piling up? Arcosa Crushed Concrete will pay you for it and recycle it. They're just minutes from Everbank Stadium on Talleyrand. Call Arcosa Crushed Concrete and get paid for what you don't need. ArcosaCrushedConcrete.com.
1010XL is presented by Farah & Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville. Now, another great guest on the Checkmate Coatings phone line. Hello. Your floor's missing piece.
Back here on 1010XL and 92.5 FM in the city of Jacksonville. We are glad you are with us. One night ago, the NBA draft lottery, boy, that was something. A lot of questions about the draft lottery. We also saw what appeared to be a devastating injury to one of the stars of the NBA and Jason Tatum. How will that affect the remainder of the playoffs? There is a lot to get into when it comes to the association, and one of our favorites is Trevor Lane of the NBA Front Office Show. You can also check him out at Lakers Nation, and Trevor's always kind enough to join us here on 1010XL. Trevor, how you doing?
I'm doing well, Ryan. Thank you for having me back on. A crazy night, certainly in the NBA last night, and a lot of eyebrows raised by that draft lottery. That's for sure.
The draft lottery was insane. Trevor, first and foremost, and maybe this has been answered a million times, so I'm going to ask it anyway. Why does ESPN and the NBA not televise that thing live? Why can't they draw the ping pong balls out of the machine on live television?
Well, they certainly could. It's just not that exciting the way that they do it because of it's a number combination that you're drawing, and it also goes in reverse order of what you would want for television. On television, they build up to the number one pick. In reality, they draw whoever gets the first combination out gets the number one overall pick. You also have situations where teams have a whole group, depending on how many on where they finish, they get a whole group of numbers that they're assigned to. So it's possible that you twice or three times, and then they just have to discard it and move on. And so that it doesn't make for the best TV is the bottom line. They do publish it later on the NBA's YouTube channel, so you can see kind of the reaction in the room and all of that stuff. But the bottom line is the actual process itself, it's just not really made to be televised, and it's not that exciting. So they do it in a much more dramatic way in the way that they reveal it now.
Well, last night was dramatic in the sense that it left a lot of questions and it left a lot of people curious, I guess is a good word for it. Cooper Flag, the prize at number one, goes to the Dallas Mavericks, who win the lottery. They had a 1.8% chance of winning the lottery. Trevor, I love the NBA, and I'm not much of a conspiracy theorist in sports anymore. I used to be, but I've gotten a little older, a little wiser, I'd like to think. But when I see this making the rounds last night online about, okay, LeBron's going to retire in L.A. in the next year or two. L.A. needs a star. Luka Doncic goes there in the middle of the night 2 months ago, and then all of a sudden Dallas is rewarded with Cooper Flag. I mean, that does lead the mind to wander a little bit, does it not?
Yeah, I think the bottom line is when I look at this, because I'm not much, one for conspiracy theories either, but even the staunchest, anti-conspiracy theory person would have to look at this and go, that's a little bit surprising. I'll tell you this. If this was all on the up and up, this is a nightmare for the NBA. This was the worst possible draft outcome from a league perspective, because for the next couple of decades, people will point to this now as positive proof that the NBA is rigged, that they're manipulating things behind the scenes. And again, I don't necessarily believe that's what's happening, but this outcome is just going to further that notion that it's all rigged. And you're right. It's easy to connect those dots. And the problem, Ryan, is there's always been a void when we look at the information that's out there in the Luka trade. There was always the question of why, and nobody could really answer it, at least not in a satisfactory way, for why the Mavericks would ever make that move. And so the conspiracy theories started to pop up that, well, this was the NBA getting Luka to LA and jersey sales went through the roof and ratings went through the roof and all of that. And this draft result just seems to be more confirmation of that idea. So, whether it was on the up and up or not, this outcome is a nightmare for the NBA, because this will now be out there for however long we're going to be pointing at this, just like the Patrick Ewing frozen envelope and all of that.
Trevor Lane of the NBA Front Office Show. Quickly, Trevor, how good's Cooper Flag going to be? I mean, is he a generational talent?
He's real good. Is he Victor Wembanyama like that? No, but he is very, very good, very talented. This is a big, big deal for the Mavs to win this draft lottery. They got an incredible player, and I'm sure this is going to make them feel, maybe not all the way better, but considerably better after losing Luka. He's a phenomenal player that I think is going to help Dallas a lot if they keep the pick and don't wind up trading it.
Maybe not as interesting, but certainly in the conversation, San Antonio got second, and they're also picking 14th, and they've been one of the teams that have been potentially linked to Giannis if he were to leave Milwaukee. I know I want to talk playoffs with you here in a moment, but as far as the Giannis situation goes, I mean, how's that going to play itself out this summer?
Yeah, I do think Giannis Antetokounmpo has played his last game for the Milwaukee Bucks. I think essentially he has to make a choice. He has to decide, does he want to stay in Milwaukee or does he want to contend for championships? I think when we look at this Bucks roster, we look at their future assets, it's clear he cannot do both. And I think he will make the choice to leave, regretfully leave the Milwaukee Bucks. I don't think he wants to leave, but I think he wants to win enough that he will leave. And that's going to create a feeding frenzy. 29 teams are going to be calling, if they haven't already called, the Milwaukee Bucks to register interest. And that process, I think, will take a while to play out. I think San Antonio is a team that will be very much in the mix, and their big night getting the number 2 pick after already having the MVP or the rookie of the year from 2 years ago, Wemby, the rookie of the year from last year in Stephon Castle. Now they get the number 2 pick. They have all the assets they need to go get Giannis and pair him with Victor Wembanyama. And I think they now, based on the draft lottery results, have to be the favorites to be Giannis Antetokounmpo's next team.
I mean, for the life of me, Milwaukee, what they're going to ask for Giannis is going to be unfathomable, right? I mean, they're going to ask for arms and legs from these teams.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, it's not a situation it's not even like Luka, who has free agency coming up. Giannis has 2 years locked in under contract still. He's in his prime. He does have a third year of that as a player option. So, look, they're going to be able to ask for a fortune for Giannis, and they will probably get it. The Bucks will. And I think the one thing to keep an eye on, though, is do the Bucks try to engage, say, the New Orleans Pelicans or the Portland Trailblazers to try to get their own picks back? Not necessarily as direct landing spots for Giannis, but if they decide they're going to tear this thing down and really rebuild, they need to do what the Brooklyn Nets did last year, and that's get their own picks back so they can truly tank. And I think that's probably what we see Milwaukee do. So I would look for one of those teams to wind up being like a third team in this deal, whatever this ends up looking like. I think the Bucks are going to put an emphasis on trying to get their own draft capital back. And if they can't, I do wonder if we see them prioritize win now pieces because they wouldn't have access to their own draft picks.
A couple of more for Trevor Lane, the host of the NBA Front Office Show. All right, to the playoffs. Devastating scene at the Garden last night with Jason Tatum. Maybe the best young star in the league. Certainly one of them goes down with, I'm not a medical expert here, and at the time you and I are talking, we don't have definitive word, but it certainly did not look good. A shock the Knicks are up 3-1. More on that in a moment. But as far as Tatum, if it is what it looked like, just a devastating injury, I mean, how far is that going to set this franchise back?
I mean, it could drastically change the future of the Boston Celtics. You know, it looked, again, no confirmation as of right now. Tatum's supposed to get an MRI today, but everybody immediately said, oh, that was Achilles. That obviously it would probably put him out for the entirety of next season. The Celtics are already set to be the most expensive franchise we've ever seen. When you add in taxes, they were going to cost $500 million next season, and that's without even bringing back Al Horford. So this was going to be an extremely expensive team. So there was a good chance that they were going to have to break up some of this roster anyway this summer. But if they get bounced here in the second round, as again, they're on pace to do right now, the Knicks up 3-1, and you don't have Tatum for all of next year, I have a hard time imagining that Celtics ownership, the new ownership group, is going to be willing to pay what it's going to cost to keep this team together and not really have a shot to go win next year if you don't have Jason Tatum. So I think significant changes. We look at guys like Drew Holiday, Kristaps Porzingis. I think they'll try to hang on to Derek White and Jaylen Brown. Those will be the priorities. But I think we're going to see a very different Boston Celtics side next year.
Crazy. To the Knicks portion of this, we'll give them credit. They went into Boston and won twice. They were in position to win last night, even before the Tatum injury. How surprised are you that New York is taking it to Boston like this?
Yeah, I'm shocked. I mean, I thought this was going to be Celtics in 5 or 6 in this series, but credit to the Knicks. The Celtics shot extremely poorly the first 2 games, like abnormally bad from behind the arc, 25% from 3. They finally got it going in game 3, and they blew out the Knicks. But now the Knicks battle back in last night's game, and again, a comeback. You have to worry about what's the mental state of Boston, as the Knicks have shown that a lead is not safe against them. They can get themselves back in the game. I think the Knicks' confidence is extremely high right now, and you give them a lot of credit to be where they're at currently over the Boston Celtics. It's been, I mean, my goodness, for an NBA that has been pushing hard to try to get parity for years, this is perhaps the benefit of that you get these unpredictable series where, you know, even the team that would appear to be the heavy favorite is no lock. And that's the new world of the NBA where anything can happen.
Well, likewise, the other series in the East, the tip-off momentarily, Game 5, Pacers looking to close out Cleveland tonight. I mean, you would think Indiana was the 1 and Cleveland was the 4, the way this series has gone. Why has Indiana been so dominant in these first 4 games?
Yeah, Indiana, they've just been playing excellent basketball. They were playing well to end the season, but there was, I think, justified skepticism that it was real, what we were seeing from the Indiana Pacers. And now we can say that it is. And now for the second year in a row, though, the Cleveland Cavaliers have dealt with significant injuries. Donovan Mitchell now dealing with an ankle injury. They had a number of players out. Evan Mobley, right? They lost so many players due to injury, and the same thing happened to them in the playoffs last year. Unfortunately, it looks like it's going to unravel an incredible season. The best team in the Eastern Conference all year long. And all it takes is one bad playoff series, and that's that. But again, credit to the Pacers. They're playing phenomenal basketball, and I wouldn't cut it. I mean, I would never would have imagined that we'd be at a place where now we're looking at a Knicks-Pacers Eastern Conference Finals all year. We've been talking it's going to be Boston and Cleveland. They're by far the two best teams in the East. Come playoff time, though, everything changes. But I wouldn't put it past the Pacers to make it to the NBA Finals. I think Knicks-Pacers in the East Finals would be a very close series, and the Pacers could very well wind up being the team to go all the way.
Yeah, we need to find Reggie Miller, Rick Smits, John Starks, Patrick Ewing, get all those guys back out there from those great series back in the 1990s. Final moments, Trevor Lane, host of the NBA Front Office Show. Trevor, quickly in the West tonight, Game 5, huge game, Oklahoma City and Denver. The best series of the second round to this point. Huge game tonight in Game 5.
Yeah, absolutely. This is a pivotal game with the series knotted at 2. OKC is the favorite going into the game tonight. I feel like we're still waiting for the Thunder to really fire on all cylinders, and I give a lot of credit to the Denver Nuggets, their defense. It was not a good defense over the regular season. I thought that was going to be their undoing come playoff time, but they have picked it up there. Aaron Gordon, what a season he's had, especially shooting the ball. He has been absolutely phenomenal and unshakable in the clutch. So this has been a great series. I still think OKC comes through, but man, Denver's really put a scare into them, and I think, weakened the armor a bit of what's been the best team in the NBA over the course of the regular season. But should be a great one tonight, and the way the first few games of this series have gone, you can't speak with any certainty of knowing who's going to win tonight's game.
And you mentioned injuries. We don't know what Golden State, Minnesota could have been with Steph Curry. He's missed the last 3 games, and Minnesota has won the last 3 games. This series is basically over, right? Golden State's not going to win 3 in a row, are they?
Well, I mean, the Wolves are very aware. They've been caught. Anthony Edwards was caught talking to some of the Warriors players about it, saying, hey, you guys are just trying to win one so you can get Steph back, right? And they said, yeah. So that's what they're trying to. The Warriors were hoping the last 2 games to find a way to win one game and get Steph Curry back for Game 6. That's been the plan. Now that you head into Game 5 for the Wolves, there's going to be urgency to finish the series before Curry can get back. And we're assuming that Curry is still out for tomorrow's Game 5. So this has been unfortunate that Curry has been unavailable, because this, I think, would have been an incredible and very close series had he been there. I think both sides, the motivation is now clear for the Warriors. If they can win Game 5, I think it changes things significantly, because in theory, Steph Curry is back for Game 6, and there is a long break between Game 5 and Game 6, so that gives them extra time to recover. But for the Wolves side, the motivation is going to be end this thing now. Don't give them the chance to bring back Steph Curry. So I think Game 5 is going to be really important. And if they can get Curry back, it suddenly becomes possible. It becomes more likely for the Warriors to win 3 straight. But the way the series have played out, I think the Wolves probably close it out here in Game 5.
Trevor, final question. We got about 60 seconds. I'm a diehard fan. You're a diehard fan. I would love it. You would probably love it. But you could legit argue that Minnesota and Indiana are the 2 best teams right now, the way they're playing. That's a disaster for the NBA, right? If that's the finals.
Yeah, I mean, in theory, you've got 2 smaller market teams. You've got some rising stars in Halliburton and Edwards. But yes, ratings-wise and all of that would probably not be a strong NBA finals. That's certainly not on the level of like a Lakers Celtics or Warriors Knicks or something like that. NBA finals. Yes, that would not be the ideal outcome for the league.
I would tend to believe that's where it's headed right now. You give me Minnesota and Indiana, I'm going to feel pretty good about my chances. I always feel pretty good about having Trevor Lane on the NBA Front Office Show. Trevor, tell the good folks here in Jacksonville about the program and where they can find it.
Sure, yeah. You can find the NBA Front Office Show over on the YouTube channel, as well as on podcast feeds, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you listen to podcasts. You can also find me over at Lakers Nation, as well as the Basketball Bulletin, where I also cover the entire NBA.
Trevor, great job. I know you're busy. Thank you for the time. Let's do it again right about the NBA Finals. Appreciate you, pal.
Sounds great, Ryan. Thank you for having me.
He's a recent play-by-play, has been on the radio for more than 100 years.
There's a drive. Way back.
Your home for live play-by-play is 1010XL.
Here's Linda Beaver.
Mayday, mayday, mayday.
Come in, Linda. Over.
We've got a sea of new vehicles and they're priced so low they're rocking the boat. Come check out our biggest selection of inventory with prices that don't break the bank and our wow ya experience that will ensure smooth sailing for your next car purchase. Plus, take advantage of our peace of mind warranties, transparent pricing to provide you with a peace of mind. You better beat the surge and head to the all-new Beaver Toyota or Chevrolet for the car buying experience you deserve.
Well, Trina, now you're in charge of ordering food for the office, so meet my mountain of menus.
So, this should be easy.
Easy as pie. You know the mathematical constant for a circle circumference to diameter ratio, pi? It's super complicated.
In that case, I'll be using EasyCater. It's got everything on one simple platform. Tons of restaurants, dietary preferences, even digital receipts.
But my mountain of menus.
How about I order us some pie?
EasyCater, the easy way to get food for work. Get a healthy start in 2025. The Florida Department of Health in Duval County is here to encourage you to get healthy and stay healthy this year. They have a dedicated team who are committed to providing quality care. The goal is to protect, promote, and improve the health of you and your family. Visit duval.floridahealth.gov to learn more about their health programs and services. That's duval.floridahealth.gov.
This Saturday, Navy Mutual would like to salute all men and women that serve in our armed forces. In 1949, President Truman designated the third Saturday in May as Armed Forces Day due to the unification of all 5 branches of our military into the Department of Defense.
Committed to the mission. At Navy Mutual, we're committed to providing high-quality life insurance to members of the military and their families. Because at Navy Mutual, our highest commitment is to you. Visit NavyMutual.org.
It's 1010XL's You Pick'em contest.
The PGA Championship.
Locked down by Pella Windows and Doors.
Good looking shot here.
You could win $1,000 of jewelry from Beard's Diamonds.
So what happens now?
Enter at 1010XL.com.
Join us at Miller Electric May 29th from 4 to 7 p.m. We're on the lookout for talented people, from entry-level to experienced electricians and foremen, security system installation and service technicians, fire alarm system service technicians, and both senior and junior VDV technicians. This is your chance to get hired on the spot. Meet the managers, indulge in delicious food, and snag some awesome giveaways. Don't miss out on this electrifying chance to power up your career. Miller Electric, May 29th, 4 to 7 p.m., 6805 South Point Parkway.
Plumbing problems? AC not blowing? Septic tank doing whatever septic tanks do? Don't call 3 different companies and play contractor roulette. Just call Duck Rooter. We handle plumbing, septic, and air conditioning all under one roof. That's one call, one company, and one bill that won't give you a heart attack. For fast, reliable, and slightly ducky service, call 904-862-6769 or waddle over to duckduckrooter.com. When you're stuck, call the Duck.
Gun charges, drug charges. I'm Attorney Malcolm Anthony, and I specialize in handling these types of felony cases. Stay out of trouble, but if you don't, call me at 285-4LAW. That's 285-4LAW.
Buying a diamond, wedding band, or piece of fashion jewelry in Jacksonville? You have 2 choices. You can go to locally owned Beard's Diamonds, or you can go to one of those mega national chain jewelry chains. In fact, did you know that some of them are owned by the same conglomerate? Yes, the same Wall Street company owns all the big names. So if you're looking for extreme value with genuine personal attention, come experience the Beard's Diamond difference. At Beard's, our diamonds come straight from the source. We hand select each one for maximum brilliance. We don't have to apply corporate markups and tack on salespeople commissions, so we beat the chains on price every single day. Beard's has the strongest warranties, not gotcha clauses in fine print. Beard's has all the top designers, including Tacori and Viraggio. Beard's doesn't have out-of-state regional managers calling about sales quotas. We are all local, family-owned, with total freedom to do what's right for our customers. Beard's Diamonds, all the selection, quality, value, and service you want from local people, accountable only to you. Beard's in the St. John's Town Center.
This is your Mad Dad's Update with Chapter President Donald Ford. In our effort to curb crime, drugs, and violence during the summer months, we are offering Friday Night Lights. It has already started and will be going until school starts back. It is every Friday night from 6:30 to 9:30 at the Blacktop, 5732 Normandy Boulevard, and behind the Potter's House Christian Academy. We manage 3 basketball courts. You are not running on the cement. We have covering on each court. The Lakers, the Magic, and the Heat. Ages 15 to 40 years old. This will give them something to do other than selling drugs and getting into trouble. We have monitors there giving leadership. We have to wake up, stand up, and speak up. Hit me on Facebook and tell me what you think. Or matt-jacksonville.com.
Jacksonville, Hickens calling it. Checkmate Coating, my MVP. Tough, slick floors that dominate any space.
Checkmate Coatings, your floor's missing piece.
1010XL is presented by Farah & Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville. Hacker After Dark on 1010XL.
Yes, it is. In for Blue all week. We'll take you up till 8 o'clock right here on 1010XL and 92.5 FM. Then we'll turn it over to RJ Saunders, who has another edition of Open Gym until 10 o'clock this evening. The NFL international games were announced. I think we knew most of these games, but they were officially announced earlier today. Obviously, the Jaguars, we'll get to them first. October the 19th, Jacksonville goes to Wembley Stadium again to take on the Los Angeles Rams. Now, I'm not surprised because it's not one of the 3 division opponents. You knew they didn't want to lose the Kansas City home game. I guess I'm a little surprised it wasn't Carolina. I thought that's where it would ultimately land, that Carolina would be the London game. Instead, it's the Rams. It would have been nice to have the Rams game here. Gladstone going up against his mentor in Les Snead, Liam Cohen going up against his buddy in Sean McVay. Still will be some good theater, some good storylines over in London. Same dynamics involved. But that nevertheless is the game. Rams-Jaguars, October the 19th. Wembley Stadium. That, of course, is that 9:30 game in the morning that we've gotten accustomed to for Jacksonville. The other international games, and there's quite a few of them. It starts opening week, Kansas City and the Chargers in Brazil. That's a Friday night game, September the 5th. I believe that's going to be streamed on YouTube. First time ever a game will be streamed primarily on YouTube for free. It's just going to be on YouTube, which is interesting. The Minnesota Vikings are doing something that's never been done in the international series. They're playing back-to-back games. And you say, well, Hacker, the Jaguars did that a couple of times. Yeah, we did. But we played back-to-back games in the same country. Minnesota's playing back-to-back games in different countries in Europe. Week 4, September 28th, the Vikings are playing the Steelers in Ireland. 7 days later, week 5, October 5th, the Vikings are playing the Browns in England. If nothing else, that's interesting.
That's an hour flight.
Agreed. But when you're the first to ever do something, it's certainly worth a mention. And the Minnesota Vikings are the first team ever to play back-to-back games in Europe in 2 different countries. Ireland on September the 28th, England the next week on October 5th. You also have the Denver Broncos and the New York Jets, October the 12th in England. We mentioned the Rams and the Jaguars. Falcons, Colts in Germany on Sunday, November the 9th. And you have the Commanders and the Dolphins, Sunday, November the 16th in Spain. Man, how many games are we talking here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 international games this year. Brazil, Ireland, England, Germany, and Spain. And the Vikings are playing 2 of those. Again, 1 in Ireland, 1 in England. A couple other pieces of news around the NFL. where Darius Washington of the Baltimore Ravens, did you see this? Started 10 games at safety last year, was probably going to be a starter again this year. Certainly a role in that Ravens secondary. Torn Achilles, I assume, during their offseason workouts. Probably done for the entire 2025 season. Just brutal for a 25-year-old that really got some significant playing time last year in Baltimore. Again, started 10 games at safety. Darius Washington, a torn Achilles. Likely his 2025 season is already in the books. Where will Trey Hendrickson play in 2025? Well, we don't know that for 100% certainty, but he's got issues with Cincinnati in his contract. Trey Hendrickson wants a new deal and is being very vocal about that. Says he will not play on the current deal. He actually talked to the Cincinnati media about that today at an, organized team activity or an off-season workout. Trey Hendrickson, one of the best defensive ends in football, wants to be paid as such, feels he's being undervalued, and has been very public. Remember, he was public about it last year, but then showed up. He's been public about it this year. He's at the off-season workouts, but he did come out and say that he's not going to play under this current contract come August and September. So that'll be one of the ones to follow, Trey Hendrickson with Cincinnati. One of the most awful stories, and look, these guys all make a ton of money, so I don't think that this is going to cost, a player or the player's family a lot per se, but I don't care how much money you make. When you're 2 plays away from a $2 million contract incentive and you don't get it, it's newsworthy. Sean Ryan of the Green Bay Packers missed out on a $2 million contract incentive because he missed 2 plays. He was 2 plays shy of what it said in his contract he needed to play from 2022 to 2024 to reach that $2 million incentive. Whew. 2 snaps. Guy would have been $2 million richer. I would think because this has gone public today and so many people are talking about it, it's on all the websites. You wonder if Green Bay will do anything to accommodate this guy? That's rough, though, man. In 3 years, he misses a quota by 2 snaps, and it costs him $2 million. Absolutely rough. What's not rough is our division previews. Excuse me. We are going, if you include vacation, which I'm going to take a couple later on in the summer. I mean, come on, we all are. I'm here on air, including this week, for 8 weeks leading up to Jaguar training camp. We will go division by division, 1 division per week over the next 8 weeks, checking in with 4 guys. When you do this as long as I've done it, you got guys in every media market. This week, it's all about the AFC East. And leading it off tonight, my buddy Sal Capaccio, WGR Radio in Buffalo, the Bills Radio Network. Let's take a look back on the Buffalo Bills offseason as we start our division previews in the AFC East. Sal Capaccio in Buffalo next, right here on Hacker After Dark.
Things you never hear Dan Hicken say.
The most important thing is having fun and trying your best.
Dan Hicken and Jeff Prosser are The Drill.
So let's get out there and do everything the opposite of what I've taught you.
Mornings on 1010XL.
Sound like a plan?
Rotator cuff injuries are common among athletes and those who have physically demanding careers. Don't let this injury keep you away from the sport you love. Dr. George Barry here, and the first thing you need to do with a serious shoulder injury is to diagnose where the damage is and how significant it is. Rotator cuff tears are either acute tears sustained during an injury or accident, or degenerative tears. If you're interested in learning more about rotator cuff repair and how our expert team of orthopedic surgeons can help you, call Barry Orthopedics today or visit barryorthopedics.com.
Guys, want a golf course fairway quality lawn? TopDressing.com just landed in Jacksonville with the golf course secret for St. Augustine grass homeowners. A patented process that aerates and turns your turf into a fairway stunner. Serious golf course technology, but in your yard. Less water, tighter cuts, total neighborhood domination. No one else scores a perfect 10 lawn. Hit TopDressing.com now. You will own the block. Top dress your yard like the pros with TopDressing.com.
All right, gentlemen, we've trained for this. We've battled the elements. But if there's one thing we can't afford, it's letting the heat take us out before the big game.
But coach, the AC at my house is busted. I barely got any sleep last night.
Well, Johnson, you should have called Cool Cats Heating and Cooling. They're the real MVPs. Now let's cue the cool music.
Cool Cats Heating and Cooling. The coolest cats in town.
DivorceMenOnly.com. This is Kenny Lay of Kenny Lay & Associates. Our firm specializes in representing men in family law. That's all we do. That's our only focus. We can help with all of your family law needs, such as divorce, custody, alimony, and child support. For over a decade, we have helped thousands of men with these types of issues. We even have an appellate division ready to challenge a judge's ruling. If you need a family law attorney, go to DivorceMenOnly.com. DivorceMenOnly.com. Offices, Jacksonville.
Keeping kids active is a full-time job for parents. Look no further, though, than I-9 Sports, covering Duval, St. John's, and Clay to get your youngster in the game. Spring and summer registration open right now for flag football, soccer, t-ball, and basketball. Plus, all new girls volleyball at Duval Charter Bay Meadows. I-9 Sports with fields and gyms all over 3 counties. And the best thing is I-9 Sports offers sports year-round so kids can always find a sport to play. I9sports.com. Enter 1010 in the promo code.
Jacksonville's building a playoff team in team.
All right, we're going to play to win.
Follow 1010XL's coverage of organized team activities, backed by Heroes Lawn Care and Hurricane Grill and Wings. Tune up the off-season with AA Automotive and 1010XL.
ET here, and Twin Peaks is the best in the game. Here your favorite drafts are poured at a frosty 29 degrees, and rare barrel-aged whiskeys are served just the way you want them. It's bigger game days and bolder fight nights. I mean, where else can you find Scratch Kitchen that always comes in the clutch every day from lunch to late night? Only at Twin Peaks, the #1 sports bar. Hit a home run for happy hour and ask your Twin Peaks girl about local specials on drafts, cocktail shots, and more. Come on, somebody.
Joe C. for Preferred Roofing, reminding you your roof is more than just felt and shingles. It's a system that not only keeps your home dry, but also impacts your heating and cooling bills. Preferred Roofing and Construction is a GAF Master Elite Roofing Contractor lauded for having the ability to educate and inform homeowners on their options. Why GAF and Preferred Roofing? They're veteran-owned and operated with ties to Duval for decades. A family business ready to make sure your family has a good roof over its head. Log on, preferredroofingjacks.com.
Get this. Joey and me were supposed to go to this concert next week, right? But then something terrible happened. Joey was driving without a seatbelt. But he didn't wreck. No, he got pulled over. Now Joey has to pay for a seatbelt ticket instead of a concert ticket, and I have to go by myself. How lame is that? So Joey, if you're out there, you're an idiot. Wear your seatbelt or you'll get a ticket.
All across the country, cops are cracking down. Click it or ticket, day and night.
Funded by the Florida Department of Transportation.
Yo, 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 it's your boy E to the T here, and I know that getting into an accident is stressful, but getting the proper care doesn't have to be. That's why I recommend McGowan Spinal Rehabilitation Center. Even if you're at fault, your insurance covers you. And remember, you have the right to choose your own doctor. Even a minor accident can cause whiplash for years if it goes untreated. So don't wait. Call the auto accident experts at McGowan Spinal Rehabilitation. Your recovery starts today.
When you're experiencing sudden, unexpected dental pain, the last thing you want to hear is that your dentist can't see you until next week. That's why I'm so glad I found Harbor Dental Care. Whenever I call, they always find a way to see me within 24 hours, and they can usually fix whatever's wrong the same day. Plus, they have locations throughout Jacksonville, so no matter what side of town I'm on, I can always count on the same great care. If you want to find a dentist who believes in treating people right, learn more at harbordental.care. That's HARBOUR dental.care.
Lauren Brooks here for Terminix. Did you know that mosquito bites could lead to heartworm for your dog or cat? When mosquitoes show up, pet parents want them gone. Terminix takes mosquitoes down fast, just like they did at my house for our pup. Terminix knows that pets are part of the family. They do what it takes to help protect them. When mosquitoes show up, so does Terminix. Don't live with a mosquito problem, Terminix it. Visit Terminix.com today to schedule a free inspection online. That's TERMINIX.com.
1010XL is presented by Farah and Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville.
Now the cool down with Donovan Air Electric and Plumbing, keeping Jack's cool since '87.
Back here on 1010XL at 92.5 FM in the city of Jacksonville. We are glad you are with us. Hard to believe, the middle portion of May, and we have started our NFL division previews. We will go 1 week at a time, one division at a time, leading up to the start of Jaguar training camp. And it's almost a rite of passage this time of year that we kick it off in the AFC East. And I believe the third year in a row, we go up to my man Sal Capaccio, WGR Radio in Buffalo, the sideline reporter as well for the Bills Radio Network. Sal is always kind enough to join us here on 1010XL. Sal, how we doing, man?
Pretty good, man. Good to talk with you.
Hey, Sal, we always appreciate it. Hard to believe we're at this point, right? Rookie minicamp in the rearview mirror. We're about 2 months away from training camp. And I guess the question for Buffalo, and it's been this way for, quite a few years, unfortunately, have they recovered from another postseason letdown in last January?
Well, I think the Bills themselves have, right? I mean, you have to just regroup every single year, get right back at it. That's the job. But, fans are obviously really just kind of wondering if they'll ever be able to get over the hump here during the Josh Allen era. You have this really great football team, and it's given you great moments, and they've built an organization that's contending every year for an AFC championship, if not a Super Bowl, and yet they just can't seem to get ultimately to that big game. So I think for fans, it's just always wondering, at the end of the day, it's basically a disappointment if you don't get there. And that's, very, very tough to do, but that's where we are.
It's almost to the point of the Atlanta Braves in the run in the early to mid 90s, the late 90s as well. They won so many, division championships, but just could never win the big one seemingly until they finally did. I mean, for Buffalo fans, and you talk with them every day on your radio show on WGR up there in Buffalo, they have to enjoy the regular season. I mean, trust me, here in Jacksonville, we'd give our left arm for a 10-win season. 10 wins is the norm for Buffalo, more than that. But yet the disappointment in the postseason, Sal, I mean, what are Bills fans' thoughts? So much success September through December, yet so much heartbreak in January.
Well, it depends on who you talk to. I mean, there's a segment of fans who want a regime change. They believe that Sean McDermott will never get them over the hump. And then there's another segment of fans who say, are you kidding me? They went 17 years without even being in the playoffs, and now they've won 5 straight division championships, and they're knocking on the door of a Super Bowl every year. And really, they've come down to one possession in several of these last several years, whether it's in the AFC divisional game or last year, even the AFC championship game. So I think it's a perspective from all different sides, really. And it's interesting to me because, I think Sean McDermott and Brandon Beane have done an excellent job, and they are right there, and they've built a really good roster, and they obviously have Josh Allen. They've done a great job of there. But I understand the perspective of anybody who says, hey, maybe it's time for a different voice. I don't agree with it, but I understand where that sentiment comes from. I lived in Florida during the Tony Dungy days with the Buccaneers, and I thought people were crazy who said that. And then they moved on from Dungy, and they go to the Super Bowl and win it the next year with John Gruden. I just want to know, if you want to move on from Sean McDermott, who are you getting to replace him that's going to, keep this team in contention the way it is?
Previewing the AFC East, we start up in Buffalo. Sal Capaccio, WGR Radio, and the Bills Radio Network. Sal, Josh Allen last year, man, not that he already wasn't incredible, but no Stephon Diggs, no Gabe Davis. They lost their best 2 wide receiver options, and Josh Allen had a great season and got them to within a possession of the Super Bowl. Was last year arguably Josh Allen's best year as a pro?
It's interesting because statistically it wasn't. But yet he still won the most valuable player. And I think a big reason why, we talked about this going into the year, Ryan, I may have even done this with you and said, look, if Josh Allen can, lead this team to another division and get deep in the playoffs with this group of wide receivers, meaning last year, he's probably going to win the MVP. That's exactly what happened last year, right? I mean, you talk about and take a look at what he had. No more Stephon Diggs. That was the talk. Well, what can he do without Stephon Diggs? look at the group of wide receivers and pass catchers that he had. It's not a who's who. It's a bunch of guys who, hey, yeah, they're nice guys. They're nice players or role players. And that's what he was able to do. So I think from that standpoint, it could have been his best, season as a pro. But you go back to 2021, 2022, he had 44 touchdown passes. I'm sorry, in 2021, 2022, in those years. Let me just look at the numbers so I get it right here. Josh Allen. Either way, 2020 was his breakout season, and that's when he really kind of took the league by storm. There you go, 36 touchdown passes in 2021, 35 in 2022, only 28 last year. But he protected the ball, Ryan. He didn't turn the ball over. He was still a rushing machine. And I think that from that standpoint, you could say it was his best season.
And you look at the running game, obviously James Cook, a guy we're very familiar with from his SEC days at Georgia. He was absolutely incredible at points last year. What is Cook as far as the contract situation? I know there's been some conversation about that up there in Buffalo. Where do we stand with that right now?
Well, the Bills extended several players this offseason. They had 5 real notable names going into the final year of their contracts. Christian Benford, Greg Rousseau, Terrell Bernard, Khalil Shakir, and James Cook. The first 4 all got 4-year contract extensions on top of this last year remaining. So they've locked up a core, essentially. Brandon Beane explained it as, hey, look, I mean, they want to get James Cook done. When it appeared that they weren't going to be able to do that, they pivoted to another guy, and they kind of got all the guys done they could. Now there's kind of not as much money left, and we all see that James Cook is making a lot of noise about making $15 million a year or so. The Bills are not interested in paying him that kind of money, but he is under contract for 1 more year. So Brandon Beane seems confident that, hey, he's going to play in Buffalo this year. He's going to come in, and we'll see if he shows up to mandatory minicamp, if he shows up for training camp. I mean, those are big fines and things like that. It could be a storyline if he doesn't. Brandon Beane seems very confident that will happen, and then they'll visit this as the season goes on, and then maybe next year. Look, if they play out the year and they have to franchise tag him, that's about $13 million, which is actually less than what it seems he's asking for. That could be an option at the end of the day.
Couple of more for Sal Capaccio, WGR Radio up in Buffalo as we preview the Buffalo Bills here at AFC East Division Preview Week. All right, this offseason for Buffalo, Sal, I guess the big story, right, was Bosa coming in from the Chargers, Von Miller out, Bosa in. That kind of caught me off guard. What was the reaction in Buffalo to that signing?
Yeah, I think a lot of the same, which is, okay, well, you signed another kind of older player with an injury history. Like, how is this going to go based on the fact that you're moving on from Von Miller? The Bills are confident that Joey Bosa, will be able to keep him healthy. And when he is healthy, he's one of the best pass rushers, in the NFL. He's also 4 or 5 years younger than Von Miller, right? And, I think that has to be considered here where he is in his timeline of his career. But I think a lot of fans were, okay, well, a little skeptical because he's had some injuries here. We'll see. I think a big storyline this year, though, is them signing Michael Hoyt and signing Larry Ogunjobi, and then all of a sudden 2 defensive linemen. One, Michael Hoyt's more of a defensive end, Ogunjobi's a defensive tackle, and then we're told they have 6-week suspensions, both of them, for PED use. So there was a pretty big reaction to that because you signed these 2 guys to really help you. Now you're not going to have them for 6 weeks. Then they go out and they re-sign Tre'Davious White. They re-sign Dane Jackson. They bring them back after both a year away from the organization, 2 years for Dane Jackson. And on top of that, they draft Max Harrison for their first-round pick. So they've really done it, as much as they can, I think, to try to shore up the defense, which was at times very inconsistent last year. They felt like on offense, hey, we have Josh Allen MVP, and really everybody's under contract anyway on offense, so they didn't have to do much there. But the Bosa signing certainly was a headliner at the time, no doubt.
On the offensive side of the ball, obviously, we know Josh Allen and that pedigree, the MVP, as we talked about. James Cook, hopefully the contract is not an issue, and he comes in and performs well. What about the skill positions? What has Buffalo done this offseason?
Well, much of the same. They've really not gone out and got a, number 1 true alpha wide receiver, if you want to call it that. The Bills have a mantra. It's called everybody eats, and look, it worked last year. The quarterback was the MVP with a bunch of guys who are not named Stephon Diggs, right? Khalil Shakir, Keon Coleman, Curtis Samuel late in the year because he had some injuries. These are guys, but then Mac Hollins led the team in touchdown catches. Mac Hollins he had less than 400 yards receiving last year. He goes on to New England. They lose him. They don't re-sign Amari Cooper. He's still a free agent. But they do bring in Josh Palmer from the Chargers. Now, in L.A., he was a number 3. But in Buffalo, he's going to be a guy that they really needed his skill set, and they didn't have last year, a man beater, a guy that can beat man-to-man coverage. Teams did that against the Bills a lot last year. They couldn't really get separation. Then they go out and sign Elijah Moore also recently, another guy who can do that. So I think they're really looking for a step up from Keon Coleman in year number 2. He was trending very well until he was injured last year, and then it wasn't quite the same towards the end of the year. Dalton Kincaid was hurt for most of last year. That really impacted his season. I think they're expecting a big jump from him in year number 3. And then in the backfield, it's really the exact same they had last year. James Cook, Ty Johnson, Ray Davis, and this is a really good group back there.
Sal, as we begin to wrap up, on the surface in the AFC East, man, it appears it's Buffalo by a lot. You got first-year head coaches in New England and New York. Miami appears that they might be falling back to the pack a little bit. I mean, the Bills have to be the overwhelming favorite in this division, correct?
I would think so. I mean, if you go to Vegas and look at the odds, I think they clearly are for sure, which is actually kind of weird from last year because they were not. They were, I think, they second or even third in some Vegas prognostications. I think the Jets were the team that people were picking to win the division. But, I mean, come on. The Jets are taking a bit of a step back again, it looks like. Maybe they'll have some sort of, year that people don't expect with a new regime and Aaron Glenn and culture changing with Justin Fields. That's always possible, I guess. The Dolphins, they're going through a transition. Look at, they kind of can't figure out if they want to be a team that wants to contend or they want to move on from guys. They have some guys come back from injury. Then obviously Tua, try to keep them healthy. And then you have the Patriots, who I actually think, Ryan, the Patriots might be the second best team in the division when it's all said and done this year. I think Drake May is a really good young quarterback. I think they got the coach right now with Mike Vrabel getting back on track. But what's the second best in the division actually mean? Is that a 500 team? Because I think, you're probably still looking at teams all looking up at the Bills who clearly, A, have the best roster and B, no doubt have the best quarterback.
Yeah, I agree. I like Vrabel with the Patriots, too. They also spent a lot of money this offseason. We'll see what happens up in Foxborough. Sal, final question. I know the Jaguars have a stadium of the future coming down here. You guys up there in Buffalo have a stadium that is going to be ready sooner than that. What is the status of the new stadium up there in Buffalo?
Well, first status is it's just getting really big and beautiful, and it looks amazing going up right across the street from the current Highmark Stadium. So the current Highmark Stadium is almost 55 years old, 72, I think. So it's 53 years old is when it was built and opened. And I think it opened in 73 was the first year. But either way, it's been a long time. And the Bills have a new stadium going in right across the street in Orchard Park. It's going to open next year, so 1 year left here at the current Highmark Stadium. So there's going to be a lot of stuff around this final year inside Highmark Stadium, a lot of memories, obviously Super Bowl years going back to the 1990s. Even O.J. Simpson ran in this stadium back in the 1970s. It goes back a long time, Ryan. And then what's the last opener in this stadium? What's the last regular season game scheduled? How does the stadium actually end? And obviously Bills fans are hoping for this particular stadium to go out with, the best way possible, which is an AFC championship, podium ceremony to go to the Super Bowl in January. But the new stadium is, it's going to be state of the art. It's not a dome. I know people say, why wouldn't you build a dome in Buffalo? Well, playing outdoors is a bit of a culture in Buffalo, right? People like playing outdoors. It is going to have a canopy like you see in Miami or in Seattle. And it's going to be, it's really a lot of technology that's gone into kind of protecting fans from the elements and the wind and things like that. And it's going to have all the bells and whistles that all these new stadiums you see that are coming in around the country have as well.
Sal Capaccio, WGR Radio in Buffalo. He's also the sideline reporter for the Bills Radio Network. Sal, appreciate you as always, bud. We'll do it again really soon.
You got it, Ryan. Anytime, buddy. Thank you.
There you go. Sal Capaccio kicks off our AFC East preview. Again, we'll go division by division, one division per week. Leading up to Jaguar training camp, we will make stops later on this week in Miami, in New England, and in New York. But clearly, the Buffalo Bills, the favorites in the AFC East. And, as we get closer to the season, as mini camps and OTAs and ultimately training camps open, the question for Buffalo is really not if they're going to win the division. It's can they get past Kansas City? Because they just simply haven't gotten past Kansas City time after time after time. And we'll see what ultimately does happen coming up this season. RJ Saunders Open Gym right around the corner. I will tell you, speaking of the NBA, Game 5 right now, a win or go home situation for the Cavaliers. Cleveland 42-25 over Indiana. Pacers have a commanding 3-1 lead in this series. Cleveland looking to keep their season alive to force a Game 6 back in Indianapolis. Looking good right now for the Cavs so far. 42-25. Later on tonight, Oklahoma City and Denver. That series tied 2-2. So that is a huge Game 5 between the Nuggets and the Thunder. Let's talk with RJ Saunders right now.
Now, the 2-minute drill. Serviced by Cool Cats Heating and Cooling. Locally owned and operated. We're your neighbors. CoolCatsJacks.com.
The coolest cats in town.
By no means am I a Boston Celtics fan.
Right.
They eliminated my Orlando Magic, 2 weeks ago tonight, as a matter of fact. But that sucks about Jason Tatum.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. You never want to see that happen, especially to one of your superstar players in the NBA.
I mean, one of the young stars, maybe the best young star in the league, a ruptured Achilles. I mean, obviously he's out for the playoffs, and RJ's probably out next season.
That's probably a 2-year injury. I mean, even with the advancement of medicine, I think the first year is probably going to be the rehab once he comes back. He already had the surgery, so I'm sure he's probably going to be in the recovery phase. But the first year is going to be rehab, and then I think the second year is probably going to be trusting that leg to where he's going to be able to push off and say, like, listen, I'm going to be able to push off my leg, and it's not going to become a ruptured Achilles all over again.
Now, look, I mean, maybe it's just top of mind, but Kobe Bryant, Kevin Durant, Damian Lillard, now Jason Tatum. I mean, are Achilles becoming more of a problem in the NBA? And if so, why? You think the athletes now are in much better physical condition than they were 15, 20, 25 years ago?
Absolutely. I also think of a guy like Dominique Wilkins also had, the Achilles injury. So if you ask a guy like Kenyon Martin, he just believes that guys aren't working out the way in which they should. They're mostly working out trying to learn moves over the summer. They're not really working out for game speed type things. And, in Kenyon Martin's day, they always talk about how they had 2-a-days over the summer, especially in training camp. And now you've, dwindled that down to where you're trying to get to the NBA season, a lot like the NFL, a lot quicker. So you don't have as many preseason games and as long a training camp. So maybe that is going a little bit into effect. I also think that there's some times where a lot of these guys are playing a little bit too much basketball. And
Season's so long. I love it, but Denmark and I were talking. It started 7 months ago.
Right.
And it's still going on for another month at least.
But think of also a guy like Jason Tatum. I know he didn't play a lot of minutes in the Olympics, but he also played the Olympics. Yeah. So, I mean, how much rest time has he had, honestly, over the last few years? Because, I mean, the Boston Celtics have made a deep playoff run every year. You decide that you want to play in the Olympics. So, eventually, that kind of stuff catches up to you. I think it did the same with KD. I also think it did the same with Kobe because they just had deep playoff runs for many years, and then you're turning back around to play with Team USA. All that catches up with you after a while.
Quickly, what's coming up tonight on Open Gym?
Tonight we're going to be talking about, listen, I understand that everyone's up in arms about the NBA draft lottery and the results. However, could the NFL kind of perfect a draft lottery if they were to have one? And would NFL fans be interested in that? We'll talk and discuss that right at the top of the show. We'll also talk with Mark Ross from NFL Network. Just want to get his opinion on the Jacksonville Jaguars as a team from the national media side. What do they think about the team as a whole? And then we'll also talk about the NBA playoffs with Lee Ellis, who's been covering the New York Knicks and Boston Celtics series, and then a little bit of the Miami Heat. Just want to see what, the feeling was after the Jimmy Butler saga and his departure, and now you're going into the next phase with Bam Adebayo being your centerpiece. Just how do the Miami Heat feel at this point of their offseason? What's Pat Riley going to do? So we'll discuss that also with Jason Jackson, who is the radio play-by-play voice and the TV host for Miami. So got a loaded show, but would love everyone on the text line to, give their comments and their thoughts about, a possible NFL draft lottery and what's going on in the NBA playoffs.
RJ, we'll be listening.
Thank you.
RJ Saunders comes up with Open Gym, 8 o'clock to 10 o'clock right here on 1010XL. That'll do it for a Tuesday night edition of Hacker After Dark. Thank you to Sal Capaccio, WGR Radio in Buffalo. Thank you to Trevor Lane of the NBA Front Office Show. And thank you to my buddy Mike DeRocco of ESPN.com for all joining us tonight. We'll be back in 22 hours, 6 o'clock tomorrow, and we will do it all over again here on Hacker After Dark. For Dylan Denmark, I'm the Hacker Ryan Green. Don't go anywhere. Open Gym with RJ Saunders is next. Have an absolutely terrific evening, Jacksonville.